We're gonna start off, like I say, I'm just gonna ask you questions, and these are pretty basic questions. And like I say, I don't care who answers or anybody, but I wanna start off, what is a mason? Anybody? What to you, what is a mason?
Mason at heart or Mason at none?
Whatever, there is no wrong answer here.
Mason at heart is always there for everybody. Mason at none is there when he wants to be there, in my opinion.
I like it. Anybody else, what is a mason?
Well, Mason isn't just one of our many sayings, you know. It's not just faith, hope, charity. It's not just making good men better. It is all of them together. You know, we are charity, we are brothers, we are religious to some extent, you know, not a particular religion, but religion. We're many things. So it's hard to put into a small box because masonry isn't a small box.
Okay.
One of the things that struck me really hard when I first became a Mason was a scripture from Corinthians. Apostle Paul writing to the Corinthians. He says, "For do you not know you are a temple unto Jesus Christ?" And that struck me that all the things we talk about Masons and the legend of the temple, which we had a great exposition of a couple of weeks ago at the barn raising, that's all about us building ourselves to be a temple unto Christ. And it really hit me hard when I read that scripture and it sunk in. Oh, that's what this is all about, and that's what I'm supposed to be trying to do.
Anyone else want to share what they think a mason is? Well, let me go to my next question. Why did you become a mason?
To better myself.
To better yourself. Anyone else want to share why you became a mason?
Family tradition.
Family tradition. Again, there is no wrong things about it.
To have a fellowship with other good men.
There you go. Have a fellowship with other good men.
To learn.
To learn. So, this may be kind of the same thing about it, same question, but I asked, why did you join? Is it because your family was a Mason? Did you because your uncle was a Mason? A friend was a Mason? What drew you in to Masonry? How did you even know that Masonry existed?
I joined because my grandfather was a Mason and he had passed away, and my grandmother, who was Eastern Star, would not let me have his ring until I joined. And I think a lot of times it's like any other organization, you join it because of one reason, but after you join, you find different reasons to continue to be there. And that's what makes you become active, and that's what makes you want to be a part of the organization, is when you, after you've joined, it's what you find there that it makes you want to continue and grow.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. I mean, a lot of us is family tradition. Who in here's got somebody in their family that's a Mason? Well, I mean, but yet who doesn't have somebody in their family that's a Mason? So that's why I want to know is you guys that didn't know, how did you find out about Masonry? Who got you into it?
I don't currently have anybody family that was a Mason. I did have a great grandfather and an uncle who were a Mason. Two uncles, I'm sorry. My journey started when I visited a friend who I grew up with in Florida, and her father took me to his lodge. And while I can pretty much tell you he should have never been in a lodge with his past that he had, but he had reawakened and reinvented himself, and Freemasonry to him meant everything. And he knew what kind of past that he had. I mean, he was not a good person when he was a young man, but he changed. And I'd seen that change. I knew who he was. And he told me, he says, "This is the best thing I've ever done in my life." Because we're not supposed to ask and we're not supposed to say it, because, but I'm going to tell you, if you get the chance to do it, do it. And that's all he ever said. And he never said nothing else about it. But he was proud of it. And I waited many years before I did it. And I just kept remembering what he told me. If you get the chance to do it, and one day all of a sudden, I just did it.
I'm going that way. I like where you're going, but I want to ask anyone else. Greg, Mitch, would you like to share how you got into masonry? What drawed you to it?
Yeah, I had a couple friends, I worked with, and I knew a gentleman years ago, when I was younger, that was a mason, and sparked my interest, and I was young at that point, and also historically, I read some, and, that sparked my interest, and basically, when I did decide to join, I had a friend I worked with that was a mason, and, that's what really sparked my interest, and I got here.
Well, I had, probably I had some older gentlemen I knew who I consider my friends. And they came up to me one day and said, man, you make good mason. I'm like, what is this? They said, you need to come find out.
Has masonry made you a better man? Anyone want to share? Has it?
Personally, yes. I see a lot of people that it doesn't because they don't practice masonry, but personally, yes.
I would say the institution itself does not. It's the people who's inside that has made me better or want to be better. I guess I get the working tools and all that, and I do agree with that. But I have come to find that it's the men who belong that has improved me. And it's improved me in ways that I've never imagined, because I get to hear their opinion, they get to hear mine, they get to hear my problems, I hear theirs, and together we build each other, and that to me is the secret. Everybody's always wanting to know the secret of masonry. Well, there are secrets, but they're nothing that, we all have to find them for ourselves, and to me that's one of them that's been unlocked through walking through these doors.
Gentlemen, I wanted to have an illustration of who I was before masonry. And I had a dirty rag. But that dirty rag was so nasty, I was afraid to bring it in that lodge. And that is what I am. I am a dirty rag without this lodge. This lodge has made me who I am. You know, we're not going to get salvation through here, but what we get is so much more. And this has made me the man I am today. I will tell you, if it wasn't for you brothers here, if it wasn't for this fraternity, I'd be laid up some bar right now. I definitely would be divorced. I definitely wouldn't have good friends. I'd probably be lucky to be alive, but masonry has really changed my life. Now, when I say that, I said the brotherhood, you know, but it's also the other stuff that we're going to get into. I want to ask you, in one word, what is masonry?
Love.
What?
Love.
Love?
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood. I like that.
Fellowship.
Fellowship. Education? Is it masonry?
Yes.
A part of it, but is it one word?
It's one word. Degrees. Are they part of it?
They're a part of it, but it can't describe the whole.
They're one word. Charity. Is it this building? A building is masonry. If you go to one word, that's what it is. Like I said, there's many different ways to go at it. Now, if we was to rank it, I would rank it as a brotherhood. That is the number one thing that we come here and we join, is to be a part of a brotherhood. Without a brotherhood, the rest would not be there. That's what makes the charity happen. That makes degree work happen. Nobody joined masonry just for degree works, but with a brotherhood, it makes our degree works better. This building, we didn't necessarily have to have this building to be masonry. We think of it just like we do at church. Church is supposed to be, but church is the family. This building is where we come here and do it. This is our temple, but that's not exactly what masonry is. I want to tell you something here, and I shared with Dan last week, that this spot right here, God has gave us all a heart. And that heart is made to serve God. That heart, this spot right here, feels empty. Sometimes we put in drugs, alcohol, pornography, food, anything in the world, we try to fill that void in our heart. And it's only short-lived. It's only made for one thing, and that's serving God. Can you get your heart filled? Can you serve God through the lodge?
Yes.
It's
That's-
a start.
It is. You're not going to get salvation, but we can serve through the lodge here, through our charities that we do. But the thing about it is, what I've come to find out here recently, that my brothers count on me. My brothers need me. You know, talking to them each week, texting them each week. That's what we're there for, is to support our brothers. I'm going to show you something here. I hope this goes pretty well. Wagon wheel. Who could tell me where the master is on this wagon wheel? Center? He's just a spoke. This wagon wheel here, I'm going to tell you, is Crittenden Dry Ridge Lodge. Brothers, like it or not, each one of you is a spoke among this wheel. The center here is God. That's what we're always around. That's who we all circle on. That's who all grows us. The spokes are there, and then this outside is what masonry is about. Now I'm going to tell you that about this thing about the spokes. This spoke here is me. This spoke here is Jake. We are both entirely the most opposite people in the world. But the thing about it is, this wheel needs both of us to be there. When I'm up, Jake is down. When Jake is up, I am down. I don't want it to sound bad that Jake has to go down for me to go up, because if I was to push down on this wheel, where's the most pressure at? It's on that bottom spoke. It's one on the bottom. So if I'm up, Jake is helping me stay up. I need him to do that. And the thing about it is, that's how the wheel turns. When he goes around, we start moving forward in masonry. You know, the problem we have with masonry is our wheels have not been spinning very fast. Well, let me just go back a minute. A wagon wheel is different than most wheels. Who here has ever backed a wagon? And how easy is that to do?
It's not very easy at all.
What percentage do you think on a wagon goes backwards to forwards? Most of the time your wagon's going forward. You don't want that wagon going backwards. It's hard to back it. It's easy to go forwards. I also want to go back a little bit too with these spokes. We're different, and that's why this wheel's the way it is. If we were all the same, we'd all be at the bottom and we wouldn't go nowhere. That's why there's different spokes in here. That's why Calvin's over here. That's why Greg's over here. That's why Chuck's here. That's why Gary's here. That's why all this stuff is in here, is to help us to spin our wheels. The other thing about it is too, in masonry, sometimes we get in a rut. If you see the old cowboy pictures and everything else, when a wagon wheel gets in a rut, it ain't going nowhere. And I really feel in the last 50 years plus years, we have been in a rut. And I will tell you, the good thing that I've seen here at Crittenden, that's why I call this Crittenden Lodge here, is our wheel has been moving. We're moving a little bit faster now. I will tell you that we are probably in 1975 in our lodge right now. Come February last year, we were in probably 1940s. And it's not a bad thing about it is, but the thing about it is we're stuck in the past, and we've not got there. And the reason I say we're in 1975 is because we put a TV screen up here inside the lodge. I remember in 1975, we put a black and white TV we had a black and white TV in our house, we went to color. And I remember how much that changed my life. This week, putting a TV up here, we knew it would be controversial. We knew that putting a lodge and TV, or a TV and a lodge, and putting a G on it, people would be like, what are you doing? But it's been going on in churches for years. They've been having stuff like that. We asked and asked, do we have to have a G up here? Can we do this? But I'm just saying, I think that's how all lodges are so far behind, is because if the TV works right, that video was beautiful, and like I say, would have brought to it. But that's the stuff that we need to do, and those things we need to have. We're trying a lot of things here, and they might not necessarily work. We're trying our website, we're trying this. We're trying to reach the 20 to 40-year-old generation, and they're not going to go through what we went through. They're not going to want to come into a lodge since 1975. They're not going to want to come into a lodge since 2000. We have to speak to them on their level, through technology, through different things. So, I just want you to kind of think about that. Now, we'll steal those person's thunder here. All right, you might have to tell me on it. So, wheel is meant to turn. It's moving forward. It's not going backwards. But a lot of lodges, what happens is they move, but this is how they move. And eventually, they're done. And when they're done like that, you're not going to get back up. You cannot pick yourself back up from there. There is a presenter going to tell us a little bit more about the spinning there later on. I hope I didn't steal your thunder there. But if you notice, before this thing hit the ground, it was spinning really fast. Because that's what happens. You think that we're doing great things in launch here, but we're not. We need to be a step ahead of everything that's going on. Masonry started, and again, this is my opinion, but masonry started 300 years ago with intellectual men. They didn't go back, they talk about the building King Solomon's temple, but they were some of the brighter men in the area that come together. They didn't worry about history or what on. They tried to make it better. I think even up into the 20s, it was trying to make it better. But when 1950 came, we decided, I don't know what happened. I think we just wanted to be how it used to be in the past. I know since I've been in lodge, I've heard too many people tell me, that's not the way we used to do it. That's not how we done it. And you want to know why lodges are dying is because you're not willing to try something else. And I'm not going to pick on anybody, but I will tell you, when you come in here today, how many of you looked at that fiery G and said, I don't like the fiery G? Anyone?
Go ahead, raise your hand.
And it's fine if you don't, but there's something different. And my thing is I want you to think outside the box. You know, you might see a fiery G that thinks that most people see as satanic or whatever else. Somebody else might see a fiery G and say, hey, we're on fire. We got to think something different. We can't think about how it was in the past. We got to try something else, try something different. Go back to my notes here. We're going awful fast. Who knows when you came through this door here what this sign above here says? Anybody notice that coming in here today? When you come through that door here, it says your legacy starts here. Guys, when we die, we can't leave nothing. You know, right now, I am Ashlyn, Ariana, and Aaron's dad. I'm Shauna's husband. I'm Kenny and Anita's son. That's who I am right now. But when I die, what am I going to be? This is the best place that I can leave my legacy is here. Chuck has left the legacy here for the years he's been here, that we've got a building to do it here. So many other brothers have left this legacy here for us. And I'm not saying nothing when I say that we're getting up to date. We would not be able to have this building to be able to move forward if it wasn't for y'all paying dues out of your pocket years ago, or whatever had to be done here. This is your legacy when you come through these doors. And the thing about it is each one of us are spoken on that wheel are called to move this wheel forward. And we can go as fast, as slow as you all want to go, but I hope that you all get a fire to want to leave a legacy here, want to have something for the next generation. The thing that really upsets me the most is Chuck still calls me one of the young guys. And it's great, I feel good about being a young guy, but I'm 50 years old. You know, young guys are 20-year-olds. That's who we need to get. I'm an old man now. You know, that's what, I want that young blood in here. But the reason we don't have young blood in here is because a lot of them came in like I have. A lot of these guys come in as EA and we rush them through so quick. Brother, I appreciate you being a master, or being just recently raised, because it's a tough thing to do. I mean, you go through this thing, you go through a degree, then you got to do a proficiency and you go on with it. But I hope you took the time to learn everything that you did with that. I will tell you right now, if you're a Master Mason, you're above what I am, because I've recently learned that I'm just an apprentice. I've rushed through my degrees in 60 days. I went through the York Rite bodies. I went through the Scottish Rite bodies. I went through the shrine looking for something else. But what I was looking for, it's been right here the whole time. I just overlooked it so fast. I went through it so fast that I didn't see what Masonry was truly about. I was telling somebody the other day, you know, we come in, we do the first section, and I remember them giving the lecture. And I remember sitting there and this guy gave the best lecture ever. But I remember sitting there going, damn, was my underwear being seen? What did I have on? You know, I was worried about how my thing was. And I got done with it and I said, well, that guy did an excellent lecture. And they said, well, how would you know if he gave a bad one? So the thing about it is, I wish that I would have went through the first section, come back and started studying with Chuck like we do, then went to the lecture, went back and studied with Chuck, went through the charge, went back. So then when I went to be a fellowcraft, I wish I knew 100% what I went through. And then when I went through fellowcraft, the same thing. I feel like I say, 60-day Mason, I rushed through it and went through all that, and it just got my fire wanting more, and I couldn't find out what I was looking for. I couldn't find it in York Right, I couldn't find it anywhere else. I still ain't found it. The only way I found it is come back here in June, and us have a dinner, a seafood bowl, and our lodge changed. And what changed was we started being brothers. We started spending time together. We started calling each other up. We started getting ideas. And the thing about it is, that wheel started turning. And we started, saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. That was what's really changed us around, and what made a difference is get us moving forward. So how important is it for brothers to spend time outside these doors? And that's again, I got off my rampage. I'm off my soapbox now. I'm back to asking questions. How important is it for brothers to spend time outside the lodge?
Extremely.
Very.
What percentage would you just guess to that is of masonry? Would you say it's 50%, 70%, 0%?
Are you asking?
90%. You're here 12 days a year, unless there's an event or something. You're here
Exactly.
12 days a year, so masonry has to be done outside of it. I mean, you set up the groundwork while you're here, and then you gotta go out and you gotta actually be a mason out, not here.
I think for me, and I'll speak for you and Jake and Mitch as well, I think that night when we went to Lowe's together, and we was looking for cabinets, of course, we did the cabinet thing and all that good stuff, but it's the meal afterward where we spent time together that I still look upon that with a good fondness, and I enjoyed that, I needed that, and I think we all needed that. And that's one of the things I really look forward to, is spending time with you guys. This building is nothing without you. It means nothing to me. It's you guys who make the lodge. We can do lodge anywhere, but we can't do lodge without each other.
I think part of the problem is the world has changed so much. When I became a Mason, I found out that half the guys I worked with were Masons. But we worked as a group. We had a crew, and we met. So we had the fellowship as Masons in our workplace. How many of you today work at a place where you have Masons that you work side by side with every day, or that you do things together? I worked for Cincinnati Bell. Cincinnati Bell had so many Masons in it, they had their own club, the 5 Points Club, that met and socialized together. And I don't see that today, because so much of us, you work from home. The workplace is no longer a place where you gather together in the morning and you come together in the evening and clock out or in. So you don't get that. So you talk about, you're a young man to me. Those kids, those people you're talking about bringing into the lodge, the 20-year-olds, they're kids to me. I'm old enough to look at it differently. But I think today you have to work harder at having a Masonic fellowship than you did when I was your age and working in a crew of 15 guys, and that half of them were Masons too. I never knew it till I became a Mason. Then all of a sudden, oh, you went through, hey, in that. But I think that's part of the difference, and that's one reason why I think it's harder and harder for the Masonic organization to be a fellowship, is you've got to work harder at it. It's not just going to be there because you work with other Masons. You got to make a point to get there. And I'd like to just address one other thing. You talked about going through the Scottish Rite and the York Rite and all that when you first come in. When I first came in as a Mason, within first year, I was approached to go through Scottish Rite, which I did. I've only darkened, I pay my dues every year, but I've only darkened the doors of the Scottish Rite Temple in Covington maybe twice since I became a Scottish Rite. Part of that is because I found it being more desirable for me to fellowship in the Blue Lodge and to learn the degrees in the Blue Lodge and to participate more in the Blue Lodge. I never got the participation desire at the Scottish Rite Lodge that I did when I got in the Masonic Lodge, the Blue Lodge.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a good point there. Me and Calvin and Dennis went through the shrine here recently, and you know, got excited all about something different. So you go to your first meeting, and you sit there in that meeting, and what they tell you is, it's like, hey brother, I'm glad you're here, but we need you to bring 3 more people in to this fraternity. We're used to being 6,000 members, we're down to 3,000 members, and we need you to bring more back in there. Now for me, I come in, I'm on fire. I want to be a part of something. I want to be a potentate. I want to do this. If I get 6,000 or 3,000 more members in there, I just got a whole lot more competition. And that's what all these other ones have. And it made me realize that here, it's not about getting enough ones in. We need brothers. And I'll tell you another thing when you was kind of talking about that. I've been a fake Mason because I come in here and we're all buddies and we hang out and we do whatever, and then you're gone, and then you like, oh shit, I gotta go to the lodge, it's Saturday again. You don't think nothing about it. But I'll tell you the difference is this year I turned 50, which is a big thing. But at my 50th birthday, I had a surprise party, and the first time ever when I got out of that car, there's of course all these ones that all drunks always hang around me anytime, and I call them family, but they were there hanging out and everything. But I seen my brothers there. And I mean, I got teary-eyed because they took the time on their busy schedule to come here and see me, and that's all I seen. I sit there and talk to you guys the rest of the night because my brothers was there. Not every, my sister, my brother-in-law was there, my cousins were there, but you all were family. But we never do stuff like that. That really shocked the crap out of me. And that's kind of got things going on here because I realize you all care to come out to do it. And that's what this is supposed to be about. That's what Masonry is supposed to be, is spending time with each other, getting closer together, and all that. Anybody else want to share anything about that? Sorry, I got teary-eyed there. So, what kind of future goals should we have here? Whether you're a member of Christian Lodge or whether you're a member of some other lodge, what should some of our goals be?
With some of these table lodges and stuff that we've gone to, this last one, the speaker was amazing. And I really liked what he was saying. You know, it's just like with the shrine. More members, more members, more members, more members. The lodge was not made for more members. The lodge was made for good members. And we all, you know, the little voice in the back, which I won't say what the little voice is, but it's always, we need more members so that we can pay our bills, or so that we can, you know, more money, whatever. No, this is supposed to be make good men. They need to be a good man before they're brought in. Our job isn't to make good men, our job is to make good men better. So they need to be good before they even come in the door. You know, and that all goes with what we're trying to do. Slow it down, make sure that they are good men before we even give them a petition, then make sure that we're making them a better man by giving them the education and the you know, what each piece means, because everything in lodge is symbolism for something, but are you told what it actually told, not just stated? Okay, the chalk leaves an impression on anything it touches like the slightest, and then go on to the charcoal, or are you told that you're the chalk? You leave an impression on everything you touch, make it a good impression. You are the charcoal that, if lit in the proper way, even the strongest of materials is forced to, I can't think of the word, but give heed to. Okay, you are the charcoal. Everything you touch, you are supposed to, has to heed to you, you know, and that stuff isn't taught, and that is what we need to be doing.
I liked what you said there. You know, we started this thing here in June, and we realized that we were down to 38 paying members here at Lodge. And that was a shock to me. When I came in, we was 160 members here. And that's kind of what got things changed around a little bit here. And I remember reading a book from Thomas Rayner, which I'm not much of a reader, but it was through church. And he said that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And I started looking inside of here that we only maybe got 12 guys coming here. And the only thing we want to talk about, and I gave 2 of those guys a chance today to show up here. And you know, we were so worried about getting these guys back into here that we were taking away from us. And that's what we need to concentrate on, is not worried about not who's in there, who's here and how we can grow about it. We could be better brothers inside of here and outside these doors, but those guys will never be back. And I hate to say it, but you know, I love Jason Deeth to death, I love Jerry Keith to death, but you know, I'm not paying their dues no more. I'm not doing anything else. They're not made to be Masons right now, and I'm not going to bother with it. We need to worry about Calvin being here. Calvin's had surgery on his foot. You know, we need to worry about Calvin, how we can help him. We need to worry about Mitch, what's going on. We need to concentrate on each other and reach out instead of the ones we can't reach.
Well, let me say this. Is a strong lodge a lodge with 300 members and 20 people show up to a meeting? Or is a strong lodge a lodge with 40 members and 10 of them show up to a meeting?
I'd say the latter.
Exactly.
We didn't
You know,
get to where we're at.
if you're 40 members and you got 10 people showing up, you're doing pretty good. Just because when you walk in and you don't see as many people, don't mean the same thing, you know.
We didn't get to where we are right now by just one of us. We got here together. Everybody had a part. Everybody played a part. No matter how big or small it was, it didn't happen without all of us doing it.
But
Well,
on that same note, we got almost 60 members and 20-some 50-year members. And one of those guys didn't want to show up anymore because he didn't know the handshake. Now, why aren't we reaching out to those people also? Why don't we visit them at least monthly?
Have made the suggestion.
What can we do for you?
Well, speaking of this 50-year Mason, I reached out to him when I was past master, or was a master in 2011. Well, he got his 50-year pin, and I went to his house, and I said, and I went here kind of with a chip on my shoulders, and I came in there with him, and I said, I'll tell you what, we'll do this 2 different ways. I can hand you this paper and this pen, and I'll walk her a separate direction, or you can come to lodge with us. He goes, what? I said, yeah, we're having breakfast, we'll have a big thing for you, you can come to lodge. He goes, I can come to lodge? I said, you're a 50-year member. He said, I don't know the pass, the grip, the word, or whatever else. I said, sir, brother, you've got a 50-year card. That gets you through our door anytime. We'll teach you the pass, the grip, and the word, or whatever. That excited that man, but he's not been back since. But the thing about it is it's kind of like, that's the bad thing about lodge is, we make it like church. Not every time you can make it to a meeting, and then what's the first thing we say when we see the brother in lodge? Where you been, brother? That's the wrong way to go at it. We should be calling him if we didn't see him here. Or say, glad to see you here, brother. You know, that's just how the simple wording and stuff like that, we do make it intimidating. We need to reach out to that member again. We need to reach out to all these members again about it. They all probably want to be a part of it.
I think that does happen a little more than we think it does happen. Just like Blackie. Blackie lives on the street. I see him all the time. If he's out there mowing, I make a point to stop and talk to him, and he says that he'll, come out. Now, why isn't Blackie coming out? It's because, I mean, he's got to be near 90, A lot of these guys can't, and, or used to be, it might have been because it was dark and they couldn't drive in the dark. Now it's the day. Now, maybe some of them are in nursing homes. Maybe some of them just can't drive. Maybe some, but there is some of the, like, I only know so many of you, the ones that I see and have met in lodge. Most of you still all show up, so.
But I think we've learned something here, and it just come by circumstance that, and thankfully Calvin brought up. we are at fault. Maybe we do need to start reaching out more because we don't know some of these guys. And we need to make an effort next year going forward to reach out. I mean, we'll throw the offer there and we'll make the offer, we'll try to help them. But at least we can go in and say we tried. And if they don't want to come for whatever reason, that's fine. But at least we can say we've tried because we have been forgetting them. And we need to bring them along with us, and hopefully they will.
I sort of agree with what Brian said. I talked to Mr. Dietz last night at 5:00. Told him what was going on today, told him that you was being the speaker, and even told him he needed to come here so he could harass you a little bit. And he told me he'd probably be here. You know, until it becomes, and this is with everything, you look at every organization, you look at churches, you look at everything. There is so much to compete with out there, people get tired, and there's so many other things that they would rather do. They don't make masonry a priority. And to be honest with you, us in this lodge haven't made it a priority. Because, I mean, for me sitting here and having helped pay for this building over the years and everything, I think this is great. I look around this lodge and I see young men sitting in the chairs. You go to most lodges and you see older men sitting in the chairs. And I think it's great to have young men in the chairs and that. But I don't know how you draw them in. And in this lodge, you know, we're having these classes, and I talked to Brian about this yesterday. We're having these things about how to dress in lodge. We're having these things about, you know, other things going on in lodge and how to do this. But we aren't having anybody step forward and say, I'm going to learn. When I said I wanted to participate in the Blue Lodge instead of going to Scottish Rite, I wanted to participate in the Blue Lodge because I wanted to learn how to put on a degree and learn how to do it from memory and learn how to do it to the best of my ability without stumbling through it and everything. You know, that's part of this learning too. And other than me, and as a member of this lodge, I don't know that there's another person sat here that has ever sat in the master's seat for a fellowcraft or an EA or a master's degree. A friend of mine, real good friend of mine, when I was involved in the union, was in a lodge in Batavia. And when their district deputy come to Batavia Lodge to do his inspection, they had to put on a degree. They put it on either a fake one, or if they had a candidate, they could put on a candidate. But we don't do anything. We don't practice degrees. We don't do anything. And you see the same thing going on with the funeral corps. They beg for people every time. So to me, part of being a participant in this lodge is learning degrees and being able to participate and do things in the lodge and do them to a good degree.
I would agree with you, like I say, we need to work on our degree work, but if people came in here and we put on the best degrees, but we couldn't get along with each other outside of this lodge, if we couldn't be brothers inside of that lodge, would that keep them around? You know, it's like I was talking to the guy that went away with kidney stones here. That's why we're doing this 3 things, so they get to know this, see if they want to be a part of us, see who we are, see if we're fake, see if we're real. You know, the thing is, I have been lacking on being a good brother. You know, I thought I was a good brother in lodge, but like I say, I was a half-assed brother. I never did it. Me and Dan went for a 3-hour trip this week into Eastern Kentucky. I thought they'd been faking it and everything else. I got down there. You know what those guys, you know what word I heard the most, what phrase I heard the most in their lodge? I love you. If we heard it once, I know we heard it 100 times. How many times have you told anybody in this lodge here that you love them? If we're brothers, we're family, that's what we're here for, is to call upon each other, love on them, be there for them. Are you a Masonic brother that's just by name only, or are you a true brother? You know, Jake is a single father raising 3 kids. I feel bad that I've not been able to help him through his tough times that's been going on. You know, and he's not going to reach out to me to tell me, say, hey, Brian, I need somebody to share with, whatever else. But I should know that, should go do that. Robbie's had some things, problems go on, different things in his life, and to be honest with you, I've been there for some of them, I've not been for them all. You know, that's what we're called to do. The Bible says iron sharpens irons. We are here called to sharpen each other and be there for each other. You know, Calvin had surgery this week. I don't know who else called Calvin up and said, hey, you know, how's it going? But that's what we're here to do, is to strengthen each other. And I'm only as good as my strongest brother. You know, it's just like that will. That's how it makes that will better than everything else. So, kind of coming to the end here, and to the visitors too, what are your thoughts on some of the changes that we've made here? Like I say, I've been to 4 different lodges this month, and most of those lodges had paneling inside of them, you know, old mismatched chairs and different things. When you come in here, you see a TV screen up here, and then, you know, hopefully you see potential. Hopefully you don't see what's here, but hopefully you see the potential. Hopefully you've seen the best video that wasn't doing it. But what do you think about some of these changes we're doing here, redoing our kitchen and trying to modernize? What are your thoughts upon that? Not everybody at once.
I think when I look at lodges that are growing, or at least vital lodges, living lodges, a lot of lodges they're just dead. They just haven't fallen apart yet. So lodges that I see that are vital have some kind of purpose. I'm pretty impressed with your guys' fireworks sales. Not for the purpose of making money for the lodge, which is good, but when I came here back earlier, and you guys were preparing for your fireworks, I saw a lot of excitement. Maybe you didn't see this, but I did. I saw a lot of excitement, and I know that's a big job. I don't know how many days you guys are doing that, at least a week. And, you know, to get together and to work together on a project and have purpose is where lodges that are growing, those are the things they're doing. And I think that's a really important part. The money you make from it is just a side benefit. That's not the purpose of doing it. The purpose of it is having a purpose. And so that purpose, you get some money, then you guys are able to keep your lodge going, you're able to do some nice things in the lodge, make the lodge attractive, and maybe other people will come. But also, what are we? We're supposed to be a charitable organization. And how can we give? We should be thinking about giving back to the community all the time. But we have to have some purpose to do that. And we have to have, and that brings us together as brothers. It makes some money so we can do things for the community. And it's really important. Lodges that don't have that are pretty weak.
Now, you all put a float in the parade. Did y'all put a float in the parade?
Yeah, we ride a truck down in the parade.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that I've not been a fan of being in parades. So we get invited to be into a parade this year, last week, as a matter of fact. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we're going to go to this stinking parade or whatever. But we went to support a brother because he got suckered in with his lodge and had me take charge of it. I will tell you that riding in the parade, what it wasn't about. What it was about, lining up 2 hours there and us hanging out together, spending time together, being on that thing and spending time together. I was too focused on being in a parade that I didn't see that I didn't get to spend time with my brothers. When you talk about fireworks sales, that's the only time our lodge was having lodge. What we did before this and everything else, that wasn't lodge. We read the minutes, the bills, whatever, that wasn't lodge. When we sat underneath that firework tent and we found out about different things about each other and everything else, that's what lodge is about. And again, what was left over from that? We made money that we used for other things about it. So, I mean, I've always been to do something twofold. You know, we started years ago with, well, I'll be honest with you, our fireworks sales paid our dues. That's how I was when there. When I came in the lodge, I didn't feel like if they were working for 160 people so we didn't have to raise their dues $20. I thought that money should be used to go for charity. So I brought up in the lodge, I said, I'd like to do food baskets here. But I said the thing about it is, I won't take money out of the lodge. We're going to have a chili supper. And with the chili supper, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go to every business around here and I'm gonna ask for donations, their ink pens, their pads, or whatever else. So, you know, already right there, I'm advertising for the local vendors around here. We're gonna have a chili supper. We're gonna have a fellowship together. We raised money. And what happened was, at that time, we all went out and we bought the food for these food baskets. We came back and we all put the food baskets together. And then we all went and we went as groups. We wasn't single, we went as groups, and we passed these food baskets out. And then we came back and we went to Wendy's and we talked about what we did. Dude, that was great. I mean, that was a lot of time that we spent together. 5 years later goes upon that, people are getting upset. You know, you got two people going getting the food with you. You got two people putting it together. You get up here and you get a basket. You just show up at any time, you get a basket, you take it and deliver it out there. And it died because we let it go. It wasn't, we made excuses. We said we're giving it to the same people, we're doing whatever else. But what it was, we lost our purpose. And that purpose was being together. We missed the time getting the baskets and making them together and spending that time together. And that's what I was going to say. Charity brought our lodge up, but charity destroyed our lodge too, because at that time, when we started doing food baskets, we come into a meeting, and that's all we'd sit there and complain about. Oh, I'm getting the same people. All that people there, we went in, they had Budweiser sitting on the table. We were so worried about that we missed, we should have been doing it together.
I personally don't want our lodge to go back to charity, community. That's not, we didn't gain nothing from it. And if you look around, how many excellency awards you see in our lodge? We don't need that because we was doing that before that even come along, and it never worked for us. We've given out backpacks, bicycles, we've handed money, checks. We've written hundreds and hundreds of checks. We've never gotten anything returned from it. That's what we become. We sat here and talked about who we're going to give a check to next. And nobody come. Nobody wanted to hear it anymore. And I agree, it did help us, but it also hurt us in a bad way.
Well, charity is not writing a check, and that's where we've been to it. Charity is going to Tommy Walter's house and building him a ramp to go into his house. That's charity. Charity is getting out and doing it together. But that's the whole thing about it, is only two of you done that. Until we come together as spokes on this wheel and all work together on doing this, that's where it's going to go. And the more we work together, charity is going to be a thing that comes out of it. Degree work is going to be things that come out of it. We're going to want to do more with it. But when it's only a certain few, it's going to die off. It's going to spin like it did before. And then once it hits the ground, it ain't going anywhere. You know, like I said, right now, our lodge is moving. You know, that is a great thing. But I am so afraid, because our lodge has done before, is we've been a bottle rocket. And then we popped. And when we pop, it's bad, because everything goes downhill and everything else. And what happens is like I say, if Jake's here and I'm here and we spin around, we need somebody else to come there. We need somebody else to come into those things. Every one of you has spoke on this wheel, and you're doing your part right now. We all need to keep sure this wheel spins. Make sure that it works together. Work together as brothers. Be there for each other. Anyone got any last thoughts here?
With what you're just saying, friends take care of each other. Just like when, might have been the same time Robbie came in, we had, you came in, Nance came in, Chris Bingham came in. We had a bunch of friends come in. I see them on Facebook every now and then. They're still friends. You know, they're still friends outside the lodge. They're not coming here. They're still friends outside the lodge. So them friends stuck together. If we're all friends in here, stick together in lodge, then you get that and keep moving, you know?
Well, I've got plenty of friends. And I'll tell you, I don't think they're friends, I think they're acquaintances. You know, the thing about it is, once I think they're my friends right there. I don't know how many of y'all heard this when you came into masonry, that if anything was to happen to you, your family would be taken care of for the rest of your life, or their life. Did any of y'all ever hear that? You know, I heard that, I took it like, heck yeah, I like it. If something was to happen to me, my kids don't have to worry about them being put to college. But then I realized, I gotta be willing to do the same thing for them. Are you willing to do it for anybody inside there? If you're not a brother. You know, you're just a friend. My friends, they ain't gonna give me no money. They'll call me want to borrow money, but they ain't gonna come up there and give me time or need to do it. There's guys in this lodge that I know if I was eternally destitute, they'd be there for me. There's guys in here that I trust with my life or whatever. You know, that's what it's all about, is we've bonded so much since June and come together. I'm just excited about next year and how far we can take this and how far we can go and how we can grow and how we can make a difference. A lot of this started with Gary here. I want to tell you something. Gary started a lot of this ball because we went out to eat and Gary said, "Is this what all lodge is?" And I'm like, "What?" And he said, Is this what it's about? He said, "You know, I went through all this stuff, I thought it was going to be more." And that put a fire in my heart to make it one more. Now, Gary, I hope that it's a little more than what it was then, and I hope we're going in a positive direction. But guys, for 300 years, we need to step it up some. Well, guys, that's my presentation there. I thank you all very much for what's going on there. We can have it ease for a little bit and go on, but,
Yeah, two people want to come.
What did you just preach?
I preach brotherhood.
No, you preach, you need more people in here. Same thing every time. You preach, you know, we're doing this, we gotta get more people in here. I agree with you. But at the same time you get more people in here, then you weed the ones that don't wanna be here out, and then you get this right here. You get good members being here. You have men that wants to be this way, you know. No matter how many Masons you got, or how many wannabe Masons you got, you always get the same amount of percentage of the good ones to do what you're all doing right now. I mean, this is fantastic what you're doing. But it took you all weeding out the rest of them to get to where you're at.
And that's a valid point. You know, I went through 6 people. I'm one of 6 left here. Greg, how many did you go through with? 5. He's one of 5 there. How many did you go through? 5. One of 5 there. Mitch, how many did you go through?
5 or 6 of us.
5 or 6
Probably can't.
You know, you're right. The thing is, we think we get numbers in here, but you're only going to get that small number. But also, too, should we guard that gate a little bit better and see which ones we're bringing inside there? You know, I will tell you the time that each one of them went through there, I was ready for them to come in. I was ready for them to get in my chair so I could go out the door. And that was the wrong way about it. You know, we did cream out the crop, but we didn't investigate, we didn't do what we should have done. You know, I got investigated at McDonald's. Most of these guys, I don't even think you got investigated at home. You know, we didn't put the thing in. You're all 60-day Masons. You rushed through your degrees, and that was it.
Now, the only thing that I disagree is that part right there, is the 60 days now. If I was going through today, and you told me that it's gonna take 6 months or more to go through the lodge to get to the other side, I don't know out that door. I'd never sit through it all to hear the same thing over and over and over. If an instructor's good, he should be able to instruct you on that degree in 28 days. Then what you grasp from there on leads you to this right here, in my opinion now. This is my opinion only. And, like I said, I wouldn't, if I'd hadn't done it that way, and I get back to something earlier, I was an eavesdropper to start out. At the age of 10 years old, my dad was instructing guys in our lower basement, which my bedroom was right above me. So I've become from an eavesdropper to where I am now. Am I better? I'm 100% better. Believe me, I'm 100% better now than I was back then. And so my theory is you gotta go through the bad to get to the good. You know, we have good members at Bradford. We have members that are on numbers, that are numbers, that's all they are, you know.
Can I say 2 things on that?
Yes.
First, I believe that most of that, what I got out of that message, most of was the members we have, not the members we're getting in, need to be better brothers. Or are being better brothers. Not only need to be better brothers, but are being better brothers. And then the 28-day thing, you're spending 28 days learning the words. You're not learning what the words mean. You're sitting there and Brethren, be clothed. Officers, take your station. Okay. Brothers, be clothed. Officers, take your station in places. And reading it again, and reading it again, and reading it again. I spent my time learning the words, not what the words meant. So if you take the time and teach what the words mean, by what he means by not being a 60-day Mason, because you're well, I don't know, maybe you're a lot smarter man than me and know what every single thing in Masonry means, but that's what we don't get out of the 60-day Mason. You don't learn what it means, and you're never going to unless you're just a freaking Einstein or something, you know. But get a little more out of it, like instead of doing the EA, the charge, the slide lecture, the everything in the one day, and cramming all that in their head, and then them remembering a verbatim what they're supposed to say, then you do, instead of doing that, you do the degree. Then maybe come back next week and do the slide lecture. Explain the slide lecture a little better, because instead of it being a 2.5 hour degree, you took it down to an hour. Now next week, let's go through it and take the 30, 45 minutes that the slide lecture takes, and let's make that maybe an hour and a half and learn a little bit something else on it, rather than just saying, you know, charcoal and chalk, and instead of just saying it, explain to them what that means, explain to them what each thing is, and then, you know, just extending that degree a little bit longer. Not even necessarily, okay, you come this month for the degree, now come back next month for the charge. Maybe get together next week and learn a little more. But like I said, my each degree was just spent on learning the words in between. It was so that I could get to the next step. That's all I learned out of my proficiencies. To get to my proficiency was the words.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. But what I'm saying, you have this guy and this guy. I can, 90% of the times I can tell you who's gonna come back to lodge and who's not gonna come back to lodge as they go through a degree. And you take the guy that's not gonna come back, you try to better him, but you gotta better him on his own time. What I'm trying to say is, whether it takes 28 days or 60 days, you gotta better him whatever it takes to get him there. And this guy that said, well, I'm not gonna sit here for 60 days. But if you go ahead and get him in and then you better him, or you better him after he gets that degree, that's different. But, you know, we've had members that want to take 6 months to do a degree. Well, there's no way that half the members would put up with that.
I disagree. If somebody comes in and says they're not gonna take the time to do it, then why waste my time? And that's just how I feel about it. And you did hit on a little bit of something that made me realize that he hit on something. I used to give the slide lecture, and I've heard, before I gave the EA slide lecture, I've heard it several times. I even learned it and I gave it. And Jake said something the other night that he learned from, I think it was I don't know where he learned it from.
It was the speaker there at Walt Hitcham Post just got me thinking. It wasn't necessarily what he said, but
well, at the very end, and he keeps referring to charcoal and clay. I remember saying that many times when I gave the slide lecture, but I didn't truly know what it meant. And here I am trying to teach this to somebody. Then the other night, we just sat here, me, him, talking, and he said, just say it how you said it to me.
I said it earlier. The chalk at the slightest touch, it leaves a mark with the slightest of touch. It's not talking about chalk. It's talking about you. You are the chalk. You are supposed to leave your impression on everything you touch. The same with the charcoal. The same with, you are each of those things, and we don't teach that.
And
You know, if you want to do that, both things can be true. there's nothing that says that you can't bring a person in here and do the first part of the degree on him. And then while he's learning the degree, I found that most of who you just said, I probably instructed. And I always like to instruct them by bringing them into the lodge. And one of the ways that I instruct them, I always said, think about what you went through as we go through the degree. Think about what was asked of you in the room. Think about what was asked of you at the door. Think about what happened when you went around. Because that brings it all back to you. To do what Jake said, to let them have a look to the east or put it on paper and say, here, study this, I'll meet with you on Wednesday and we'll go over it. And I go to your house or I go to whatever. You know, being here in the lodge allows them to visualize, go back and visualize what they want. So you do that 1 week. The next week you bring them back in the lodge. You can still do this in 28 days. But you bring them back in the lodge, you go over it, and you have the guy come in and give them the lecture. You know, there's nothing that says, if you can do it in 28 days and still spread it out, but that takes commitment. And again, that's the part, you know, I think it's great, and I've been to most of the dinners that we have. I think it's good to get members out during the month and go to dinner together. But you know what? You can have fellowship in this lodge with the active members, the members who really want to be involved, by coming in here and practicing a degree and letting some of them do this one and ask them to do that. When we've done degrees and we said, okay, we're going to practice the Wednesday before the degree, and you come in here, you don't have enough people to do the degrees and have a candidate to walk through. So if you've got active people and you want to get together and fellowship and be active, there's a number of ways to be active. It don't have to be out of the restaurant, it don't have to be out of the gym or anywhere else. It can be right here in the lodge. The fellowship we had when we had the chili suppers and that, and that things come and go and that. And part of the reason the chili suppers left is because if you think about a lot of the people who bought chili, it was the older people that are no longer here or can't get here. So you can do things in fellowship and still do things for the lodge. You guys been having, from what I understand, a great time doing the remodeling here at the lodge. Fellowship together while in the lodge. Of course, there's only a few of you doing it, and I understand that. But if you want a fellowship with the lodge, or have fellowship in the lodge, then have some fellowship in the lodge.
You actually are wrong on one thing. You said there's only a few of us doing it. We're all doing it together. Everybody played a part. You did, Mitch did, he did. We all played a
I'm
part.
talking about the work.
Yes, we're talking about
That's
that.
what I'm talking about. You don't realize the part that you played in it, but you did. And it's hard to explain it, and I'm not gonna take up more time to explain it, but you played a big part in that. Everybody here played a part in that. The work means nothing. We all did that together. You just don't realize it. You was there too. You may not have been here physically, but you was there. And you was there in our minds, and you was actually here in our hearts too. Because we did talk about you. We said, no.
I don't know if that's good.
No, listen, no, it's not meant in a bad way. You slowed us down. I remember when we kind of had a little, we did fight that one time. You remember?
Yeah.
You was right to slow us down because we didn't explain it, and we should have did a better job explaining that. And that did bring us together to help us do that. So you did play a good role in that because, hey, we got to do a better job of explaining this. We just can't go over and say, hey, we want to take $50,000 and start spending it. Yeah, I agree. You did right.
Well,
We should have done better at that.
Well, and one thing off of that that I would like for us to start trying to do with this whole consent agenda, and the TV out there saying this is what we're gonna go over. We make that plan before lodge, put it up there, and then if something is brought up, like, hey, let's talk about X, Y, Z, okay, we'll do that next meeting.
But
Now you know what we're gonna talk about.
it wasn't about who did more and who didn't. Like Mitch went with us to look at the cabinets. He took out Tom to go with us, and we went out to dinner afterwards. And I'll tell you, that was one of the better times I've ever had. And It wasn't, and Greg coming up, Greg played a part. The checks didn't write themselves, you know, I needed somebody to get money, and Calvin arranging the floor guy, taking care of that, he done other things, he's done other things, I'm not gonna say or go each individual person, Brian's done a lot. We did it all together, and everybody played a part in that. We didn't get here, just a few of us working together. It took all of us, we all got there together, in a roundabout way.
I want to back up a little bit.
And I meant to say, Jake, get the appliances.
I want to back up a little bit and kind of say, well, you all saying the same thing, and that's the thing good about masonry. We could all say the same thing and kind of disagree with it. The thing is, when we talk about the chili supper, the reason the chili supper died was because what you're doing today is going to not work tomorrow. You got to be a step ahead of it. And what you're talking about doing, how you do with the EAs now and everything, doing the papers or whatever it is, that's not going to work on the candidates now. You know, we've had in the last 7 years a lot of EAs come in, but I've seen my first fellowcraft degree this year and it was somewhere else. We need a translation to get to these people to relate to them. This is a totally different society than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever else. You have to reach them at a different level. And like I say, what works today, you better be planning on tomorrow because it's not going to work tomorrow on that. And again, some people can learn in 28 days, some won't. Go ahead.
I want to touch on one other thing. You spoke earlier about going and seeing a man that was 50-year member and him not know the words, the hand grip or whatever. I've said this, I don't know how many times, we need to have, the lodge needs to have twice a year, invite all master masons that would like to come to the lodge but has forgot the lodge. And come in and have a school, have it one day, you know, a 2 or 3 hour class and teach them words, teach them signs, the whole 9 yards. And I think it would benefit your lodge. You get guys like, I went through a class with 14 in it. I am the only one out of 14 that's there, you know. And the guy, one of the guys that I lived next door to me, went through the class with me, and he would not come, but he would not take the time for me to teach him the signs, the words, and everything about it. Anything he wanted to learn, he would not take the time because he felt he was ignorant. He didn't want to come back to the lodge. I feel that the lodge ought to have a class once, twice a year, and bring him in on Saturday. This is not a talent class. This is a class. Come in and learn what you have forgotten.
I would agree with you if they would come.
Exactly.
My thing is I don't want to spend a lot of time, like I was invited to, he talked about one day, I don't want to spend no more time on these brothers that I've invited to every meeting that I haven't seen, because of what I found out, masonry is not for everyone.
Exactly.
Masonry is not, and there is dues paying members that they are why this lodge is here, but they're not masons. They're members, and there's a difference between masons and members. And again, I think we do need to go reach back to some of those because they might have got lost in translation. But we don't spend a lot of time on that because we need to spend time on us.
I did reach out once, like you said to a gentleman, and this is always, I can remember this to this day. He goes, I just pay my dues, I could care less about the lodge. He goes, I took my degrees, I have no interest in coming back. That's all. He goes, I don't want to be a part of the lodge, I just want to pay dues.
That's basically the same with my neighbor, you know. He paid the dues every
And to
year.
me, that said something to me like, then why are you in? You're not doing anything, you're paying your dues, you don't contribute. There's more to a lodge than paying dues. I mean, yes, does that help? It does. But we have gotten in a mindset that we have to have that guy. To me, he's not, honestly, I shouldn't say this, but he's not a mason to me. I have no interest in him. He doesn't have an interest in us growing and being a part of this lodge. I'm not interested in him. I just not. And that just, it hurt me for him to say that, because I could care less about lodge. I don't want to be there. I haven't been there since I've been raised.
Well, that goes back to this. If you're not part of the solution to fixing masonry, you're part of the problem. And that's what we all need to sit up here to do is, if you're not going to be, you know, dues payers, that's great, but masonry's not going to not going to live very long with just dues payers. If you're not stepping it up to leaving, like I said above this door, when you walk through this door, if you don't try to create a legacy here, why are you coming? This is what the only thing that you can look back and have when you're gone, knowing that you left it for the next generation, the generations after that. All right, we're at enough time here. I appreciate every one of you all here. Actually, I tell you what, I don't appreciate it, any one of you. I love you, brothers. Thank you so much for coming out here. I love every one of you. It means the world for you all to be here today. I mean, I call each one of you my brothers. I'm there for you. You ever need me, you call me. I'm there at your beckoning. But I love you. Thank you so much for being out here.